I'm going to make a very, very bold prediction. Here it is. Hear me out. Bernie Sanders is going to win the Democratic nomination and ultimately go on to be the 45th president of the United States. This may seem premature and completely irrational because the first primary isn't until February and the general election is more than a year away, but I actually have my reasoning as to why I think this is going to be the case. So there's two specific reasons in mind. Now, first and foremost, if the poll numbers continue to rise steadily in his favor, well, he will win according to current trajectories. That's just math. Now, second of all, our country is really at a breaking point. So when you look at the actual political climate of the United States, you'll see that all indications, all signs point to the fact that we may be on the precipice of a political revolution. So let me elaborate more on both of these points, but first I'll talk about the polls. So now multiple polls show that Bernie Sanders is beating Hillary Clinton in New Hampshire, which is a key primary state. Very important. Now furthermore, Bernie Sanders is closing the gap in Iowa as well. If you look at this chart, you'll see that he is now within striking distance and will probably overtake her within the next month or so, if not sooner. And when you look at aggregate polling data, you'll find that Bernie's electability and national favorability continues to rise, while Hillary Clinton's continues to fall. So now, Hillary Clinton's numbers are not falling because her campaign is embroiled in controversy over this email scandal, nor is it falling because the first word that comes to mind when voters think of Hillary Clinton is liar. That's actually a poll. I'm not just saying that to be mean. That's what one poll found. That's not the case. Bernie's meteoric rise can be attributed to the fact that he excites people because he's proposing real solutions to the most pressing issues of our time. So a new article from the Huffington Post is titled, quote, "Polling Trajectory Shows Bernie Sanders Winning the Democratic Nomination." Now in that article, they state, Senator Bernie Sanders will win the Democratic nomination in 2016 not only because he can type an email without nationwide controversy, but also because he's exhibited a monumental surge in the polls. This ascent within the hearts and minds of Democrats began several months ago and will only continue with greater name recognition. According to HuffPost pollster, Clinton's lead over Sanders among Democrats was an astounding 60.1% to a mere 4.9% on March 2nd, 2015. By August 26, 2015, Bernie Sanders surged all the way to 23.4%, while Clinton fell to 47.1%. America should finally start to notice a political revolution in the making, especially since most Americans still don't know much about Sanders, yet he still continues to rise in the polls. Once he's given the attention he deserves from media and political pundits, Bernie Sanders will become even more popular among voters. Now, I've been saying that all along since I started the Humanist Report. So the Huffington Post, either they watch the Humanist Report or they're just logical. So you can't ignore those numbers. That's the conclusion when it comes to this first point with polling data. Even Nate Silver, the political whiz kid who pretty much predicted the last two presidential elections, well, he predicted that Bernie's surge would end, but he was wrong, and even he admitted that. And I predicted that he was going to be wrong. So against all odds, against the fact that the media has been trying so hard to stifle his campaign, Bernie Sanders is thriving. So when you look at the data, the probability that Bernie will win is increasing. Now, this doesn't mean there aren't challenges. He's still not polling well among African Americans and Latinos, but once again, he's going to get the national attention that he deserves finally, I think, once the debates start. And I think that that's going to change, and he will poll better among minorities. Now, once Bernie Sanders beats Hillary Clinton, it doesn't matter who you throw at him. Any Republican, Donald Trump, Jeb Bush, he's going to beat him. He's going to beat him. So now getting to the second reason why I think he's going to win. In short, he's the transformative figure that we need. So think about it. Voters have become politically disenfranchised. They're not represented by Congress. Congress just represents corporations and special interests. Our politicians have become so corrupt. Income inequality has pretty much become so bad that it's unsustainable. And little action has been taken to mitigate climate change when we need substantial action. All of this can't continue. We're at a breaking point. If it does, things could get so bad that it could potentially trigger a regime change. Now, that's highly unlikely, but political scientists know that all democracies eventually break down. And the US is not excluded from that harsh fact. But what's more likely is the fact that we're going to have a political revolution, one that's nonviolent, one that happens through a transformative figure such as Bernie Sanders. And this was the case with FDR. So now what's clear is that the same old establishment politics will not work. In 2008, Obama came along and promised to not play politics as usual, but that was a lie because as we've all seen, he's proven to be a corporatist Democrat. But what happened was that his campaign still galvanized the public because he was the insurgent candidate. And we wanted someone who was not part of the political elite. And the difference between Barack Obama in 2008 and Bernie Sanders in 2015 is that Bernie Sanders actually has his record to count on. He has that track record of being a progressive all the way back to the 1960s. So this is not just someone promising to be progressive and then is going to change their mind in office. It's the fact that Bernie Sanders has a real progressive record to count on. Even the Republicans are fed up, hence the reason why Donald Trump is surging in the polls, because even though he said some ridiculous things, the fact of the matter is that he is an anti-establishment candidate, and he's talking about how our system is broken, how he's purchased politicians himself. So we're all tired of politics as usual, and Bernie Sanders is the person who is purporting to change that and is promising to change that, and that's why he's galvanizing the public and getting so much popularity and rising in the polls, because Hillary Clinton, she's not promising to do any of that, and she's not exciting anybody. So when you take all of these things into consideration, it becomes very, very clear. The conclusion is right in front of us. It's right in our face. Bernie Sanders is going to win the Democratic nomination and become the 45th president of the United States. Hear me now, quote me later.